tell us a little bit about you, about yourself, and yeah, who are you?
That's interesting. Whenever I speak about myself and my identity, of course, in the workplace, we think a lot about our designation or the position that we are associated with. But I often am very comfortable to introduce myself as a feminist leader. We do not have um, a lot of them among us, and especially in the civil society, where all of us we work for great social causes, where inequality, inequity, injustice are some of the big words that we have to fight against every day on a regular basis. So I call myself a feminist leader, someone who wants to become the voice of those people who doesn't have the platform or not necessarily the scope to speak for themselves, and also create someone who is uh, responsible for creating spaces for other people in the workplace as well as in the society. So I see myself as a leader, but also being someone who represents that marginal part of the society and who wants to be a voice for many people, for many great causes.
What does a feminist leader do on a day-to-day basis? Like, how does your day look like? Maybe you could share a little bit. The things
Yeah,
you
yeah, of
love
course.
doing, your passion as well. Yeah.
Sure, but before getting there, I would like to give you a little story about my personal life, because who I am today is greatly and largely influenced by what happened to me and how my life experience has been in the past several years. So I was married really early, and it was a forced early marriage. It was an arranged marriage, like any other typical marriage in the Asian culture, especially in my own country. And then I had the experience of living through a very violent relationship. I had to experience domestic violence. And only then I realized that coming off from a very well off family did not was not enough to support me, to protect me from domestic violence. And what about those women and girls who live off the streets and live day to day? What about them? So they have so many other deprivations. At least I have some protections. I have my family to look after my back. So from that point, I decided that if I now stay silent and quiet and just absorb it within myself, the chances are thousands and million more women and girls are just going to be quiet about it. So I have to speak up and I have to protest what's happening with me, and it's not right. And from that day onward, I've never stopped raising voice against violence against women. So when you ask me, how does my day look like? Be it at my home where I have somebody to help me with my household work, be it at the street when I interact with people, be it at my workplace or any public forum, this one principle that I always follow: I'm never going to compromise with violence against women and girls. And I'll never be silent, and I'll always encourage other people, please raise voice, protest this. We need to address this problem. So I wake up and I get my cup of coffee, which is I call it my productivity turn on button with my coffee. And then I would, on my way to office, I would read a couple of articles. So some of my favorite places to browse in the morning is Harvard Business Review. So I read one article every day from Harvard Business Review. I think that's a great place to learn. And then I would quickly jump into World Economic Forum blogs. So I will read one blogs, what's happening in the world of economy. And then I would probably browse in the Institute of Development Studies blogs, which is from the University of Sussex. So I'll read another blog. So I read at least 3 articles every day on my way to office. And then I go to office, check my emails, get into meetings, interact with my team members, come back, be a mother, look after my child, and call it a day.
You already hinted from, where you're coming from, your background, what you're passionate about. So tell us a little bit more. And how was your
Um,
experience with the course? Yeah.
sure. So I first got to learn about this course from my supervisor, who's actually my line manager too. So he sent me an email and said, "Can you explore this?" And I clicked and opened the course module, and I saw very interesting topics like civil society leaders. There were mentions of different models like the helix models, and I had never heard of it. And there was entrepreneurship, and it was more like, yes, it is about civil society leaders, but it's also beyond that. It's a very holistic kind of module that I saw in there on my laptop screen. And I was thinking, like, I've done a lot of leadership courses and I'm very skeptical about training, because I feel like many people join training and they are not in there, like with their whole self. So whenever I choose to do a training, I have to be there, like with my whole self, my concentration and everything. So that's when I decided that I would like to go ahead and do this course. Not only it gave an insight to the whole world and discussion of leadership in the civil society, I think it also hinted to the emerging trend in the civil society sector, because now we are not only for dependent on aid, we are getting into more social business. So a leader must have understanding and knowledge of all of this. So that's the reason that I was basically interested. Um, and then to respond to your question on how my experience has been. So the day I joined, I realized that I was one of the youngest in the list of participants. And I was asking myself, like, I don't know where I came. Is it the right place for me to be in? But to my utmost surprise, it was all those participants' experience that has enriched me a lot. We did a lot of interaction, although it was Zoom, but we did a lot of interaction. I learned from their experiences from other countries and contexts. And I also learned how they have managed to navigate through difficult times and decision making processes. So it was very enlightening. And um, it would be unfair not to talk about the facilitators. I think each of them had the insight and understanding of the civil society, a very thorough understanding, in fact. So they were able to relate to our practical life experience and tailor the course modules and discussions accordingly. So I really enjoyed that part. Over.
Now, after the course, and also maybe before, has your meaning of exceptional leadership changed? Or, and what does it mean right now for you? Um, yeah.
That's a difficult question. I'm still figuring
Take your
out.
time. Yeah.
It's a difficult question. I'm still figuring out. After the course, a few things has changed in my life. That's for sure. Um, I think to like the bottom line would be my previous understanding of leadership was much narrow, and after I have done the course, it has kind of expanded a lot. So I see a lot of other things in the leadership zone. Um, and I have to confess one thing. When we speak about leadership in a public forum or interview, we refer to big buzzwords like motivational, uh, exceptional, but I didn't have the understanding what does it take to be an exceptional leader. And if I give you one example, that would be, so one of our session was about wheel of life, and we had to do scoring on many parts, including our personal life and our professional life. And when I put my scores, I saw that I ranked myself really poor in some of the personal life aspects. And that was a triggering point for myself. Like, what am I doing? I'm doing a lot of work and I'm telling myself, you're doing enough. But I also need to take care of one or two of my personal life issues, which is also leading, connected and very directly connected to leadership. If I don't take care of this part, if I don't give attention here, chances are in the long run, I'm going to burn myself out. So leadership also means I look after my personal life and I be out there full with my full self, like personally healthy, professionally thriving. It's a combination of both. So that's a very small example, but there were many other moments like this.
Do you have a leadership mantra? Something that you personally feel very connected to, like just
There's a word that energizes me, and I'll give you that word. It's failure. It's failure that energizes me, that, creates a different level of energy in my head and my body and mind. Because in our world, we are very ignorant of our failures and we don't typically accept that I have failed in doing something. But
mm,
I see myself becoming a leader, someone who creates and encourages and promotes a culture where failing is normal, it is accepted, and it is not stigmatized. So these three things I would like to do and practice, which I am doing currently, but I would like to scale it up, of
mhm,
course. And I think the moment we accept our failures and we take the lessons is the moment we are actually putting ourselves towards success. So that
mm,
one word, although it's a negative word, but it triggers
mm,
positive thinking in my.
mm. So how would that sound in the leadership mantra? Like if you have a quote for yourself that goes beyond one word.
Um, I think I would just say that failing is okay. And the more you fail, the more you put yourself towards innovation and success. That's something that I would put forward actually. So I don't know if that's a mantra or what, but that is something that I practice.
Okay. If you had a magic wand, yeah, what would you change?
I think you can already anticipate that, but I would just give it to you directly. I think if I ever have had a magic wand in my hand, I would just make sure there is not a single girl or woman on this earth who experience violence against them. And they have the environment to do the optimum use of their potential.
What were your top three key takeaways or insights from your learning
From the
journey?
course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I would put the first one that I felt like was really, really important. The first one was the coaching session. And I did not have any understanding whatsoever about what is coaching, how do you do it, how do you benefit out of the process. But the moment we got into the practice coaching session, I started realizing, well, this is a great opportunity. I actually have someone who is actually going to ask me question in a way that I bring out the solution out of myself, which otherwise I would not be able to do. And it was a very interesting learning for myself because I would otherwise mixed it up with mentoring and counseling, but it's not. So I really liked the coaching session and I've benefited. And I don't know if Sohini has told you, we had one coaching session even after the course where I was actually discussing my very real work life problem with her. And I was greatly benefited out of that session. So that was one. The second one that I really liked was that Wheel of Life, which has the personal and the professional parts. And I told you, I scored myself really low in some of the personal aspects. So I thought that I would like to do better there. It was a great learning point. And the third point would be this beat about civil society and a mixture going and a mixture of entrepreneurship. So how do you combine this together and envision a fusion model that works in our future or in response to the emerging need of this sector? So these were my three takeaways from this.
Were to recommend the course to people who are similar like you, who would that be and what would you say to them?
I would like to recommend this course to all of my peer leaders who are at mid senior level leadership right now. I think up to this level, even if you don't have exceptional leadership, you can survive for a while. But if we want to push ourselves to go forward, to become someone who stands out among many other leaders, I think this course is definitely a great opportunity to, take on. And then I've already recommended it to my supervisees. I think we'll be sending some more people to do it already next in the next batches or so. And what I told them is I actually told them about the coaching session and how I benefited personally. And also that if you want to grab a very comprehensive understanding of leadership, not from the buzzwords perspective, not from the theoretical perspective, but from a very pragmatic, practical, realistic aspects. And if you want to learn from others' leader experience coming together, this is the place to go, and you should definitely do it. So that's what I have already told them.